So a couple of words about iAngels for the new faces in the audience. iAngels is an investment firm in Israel specializing in early stage investments in Israeli startups. We're located really down the street on Rothschild 18 and have an elaborate online platform where investors from all over the world can engage and invest in the asset class that's called Israeli high tech. We are thrilled to have Guy Glass, founder and CEO of Kaha, this morning with us. And I want to give him an opportunity to just briefly introduce himself and Kaha, and then we'll follow up with maybe a video that kind of like, you know, captures and fully articulates, you know, the solution.
Great, thank you. So my name is Guy. I'm CEO and founder of Kaha. Actually, I'm software engineer in the last 17, 18 years, mostly at the e-commerce industry. Founded a few companies. The company I founded before Kaha is a company called Style River, one of the biggest e-commerce fashion company here in Israel. And we founded the company in 2009, sold most of our shares to the biggest media company here in Israel in 2012. Part of my role there was not only to be responsible for the tech side, but also for the operation side. Around 2013, I tried to find some kind of robotic solution to our own use, something very scalable, something very flexible. Actually, everything this Kaha stands for today. The biggest shareholder didn't want to invest in technology. Good for me. Around mid of 2014, formally quit the company, joined with some other founder that have expert in the robotic area. Back then, I didn't have any clue regarding robotics. First year running only for money we took out of our pocket, and year later, mid of 2015, we connect with iAngel, with Gigi Levy. iAngel were our first investors, and that's it. So basically what you will see here, we achieve it in around 3.5, 4 years.
Great. So let's maybe take a minute to view the video. Maybe I should move.
So the concept is that we can come to any manual warehouse, and currently in the market around 90% of the warehouse is still in manual mode, working in manual modes, and we can robotize this warehouse in very easy, very quick way. And we can do that because we can utilize existing infrastructure. So, and when we say existing infrastructure, it means that we can use any type of a floor. We're compatible with any type of shelving that is currently in the market. Customer can use its own regular boxes, can be plastic boxes, can be carton boxes. And on top of that, we have these robots. We have two types of robots. By the way, they are cloud-based robots, and maybe we can talk about the software later. But two types of robots. The big one that currently can go up to 3.5 meter high, 2 times better than manual picking, 2 times better even from if you compare it to Amazon Robotics, and we'll talk about it also later. And the small robot, very agile, very fast robot that can drive beneath the shelving and can have direct access for the first row. So basically we separated from the movement of the box in the warehouse, where the robot needs to drive pretty fast and to have a very good throughput, and the optimization in the warehouse that's driven by the big robot. So these two main elements, using existing infrastructure and cloud-based robot, give our customer a lot of flexibility, a lot of scalability. In a moment, we'll talk about who our potential customer, who our current customer, and that's it.
Great. I always feel like this video kind of, is an eye-opener. Like, okay, so that's what it does. Great. And I think, some of the key advantages, you also said it right now that we're watching the video, was really the fact that, warehouse or logistics companies want to be able to operate the warehouses 24/7, daylight, in the dark, save electricity, because it's less manual work, or some areas of the facility can avoid altogether any manual work. The height of the facility can increase twofold or threefold, thereby introducing a lot more efficiency to real estate. And what it means for logistics warehouses that are closer to the cities, that need to really chime into the whole e-commerce trend. So I think this is really great. I want us to take maybe for 5 minutes like a step back and talk about Industry 4.0. So this is really, like in terms of the Industrial Revolution, and if we're looking about like the very initial one in the 1800s, like as the first Industrial Revolution, then the second one in the 1900s, and then the third one in the last 20 years about really creating robotic solutions or streamlining manufacturing and production lines, and now introducing Industry 4.0, which has become one of the hottest topics for discussion, for investment. Just came back from Europe, from Berlin. Everybody's talking about Industry 4.0. So you guys started like 3-4 years ago, where this was not the hottest topic for discussion, kind of really pioneered, kind of like ahead of the curve in that sense. So share with me a little bit about kind of like your viewpoint about what is Industry 4.0 means in your perspective, and what has that journey's been like in the last 4 years?
So basically, as we see it, Industry 4.0, it's all about software, and that's why we think it's booming right now, because before that, in order to enter to this industry, you need a lot of capital, you need a lot of time in terms of cycle of development. Right now, when everything is driven by software, it enables a lot of startup companies to enter to this industry. And actually, let's see, most of the startup companies that in this territory, none of them invent something really, some unique innovation in terms of mechanical or electronical things. Most of them based on software. So, and for us, when we started, it was very difficult from the business side in terms of fundraising. I think you were the first one that to jump on that. It was very difficult. Still, in Israel, it's not trivial to take a company that working with hardware, software, and especially in the logistics. Logistics is all about size. So in Israel, I think, I don't know if the right word is to appreciate the logistic and the potential on that, but very difficult for VCs in Israel to understand the potential on that. So again, I think right now we see more and more VCs that even in Israel enter to this territory. And again, it's all about software. So as long as you have software, you have AI, and you have deep learning, and you combine it with the machines. And the other thing we see, and actually we see it in ourselves, sensor that I bought like 3 years ago that cost us around $3,000, like LIDAR and things like that. Right now we buy it, same company, same model for $1,000. And again, this also enables in terms of development and fundraising, companies that want to test their software on hardware, they don't need a lot of capital on that in order to test because the pricing is pretty low, and that's it. So Israel known mostly for the software, and that's why right now it's really booming.
Yeah, because like Industry 4.0 is talking about how it's no longer just an automated solution, but by now already machines are able to talk to machines independently and make decisions. And also I think from what we saw, there was like a couple seconds in the video really showcasing how you kind of like formulate and map out the facility, and then the robots can by themselves decide what is the fastest route or where they should go and how to actually do the entire kind of like execution of the task. So I think that's incredibly interesting, and based on what you say, you think there's a lot of opportunity now because software is chiming in a much more significant way, And so for you as a company that is doing both hardware and software, is that an advantage? Or like maybe, tackling Industry 4.0 should be like a software-only focus? Or where is that?
As we see, our main assets right now is in the software, but we try, actually when we started, we tried to find like commodity robot that we can integrate our software to the robots, but we didn't find anything in the market. I see it in 6-7 years from now, most of the robotic will be that you can buy it in the Chinese market, whatever you like, and the competition at the end will be on the software side.
But today people still want kind of like a full solution.
Yes, everybody needs full solution. I'll give a very good example for that. We have a very unique approach how we do the navigation and how we how let's say the robot driven by the software. Most of the robotics company in the world until now, most of them give a lot of power to the robots. They put an AI in the robot. They give to the robot a lot of, these robots are very autonomous. We have a very different concept on that. We took all the power of the cloud, and actually our robots, my robotic engineer don't actually, it's on Facebook. They don't want to hear that, but our robots are pretty stupid. Most of the brain of the robot is in the cloud. So they cannot take any decisions by their own. Everything they are communicate every 500 milliseconds with our servers, and everything is driven by the software. We even have a virtual robot that simulate one-to-one like a real robot. So actually we can run in parallel real robot together with virtual robot. Sometimes you see the real robot stopping in the middle of the warehouse. You don't understand why. You see a virtual robot driving very close to him. And this is part of that we don't need a physical robot in order to run on development. We want to invest a lot in terms of R&D and capital to have now 100 robots only for development. So and everything again, and also if we are talking about engineers, it's easier. It's not easy, but still it's easier to find a software engineer and not robotic engineer. So right now we are recruiting like software engineer. They don't have any clue in terms of robotics, but they have a clue in AI and deep learning and things like that. So they don't need to understand in the physical side. And again, this is everything. This is to summarize that for startup company. This is exactly what Industry 4.0. 4.0. So everything is based on software, and this is what we are trying to achieve. Our main assets is in the software. Right now, we don't have any robot that we can buy in the market, so we're also developing our robot, but I assume in 6-7 years from now, we will give a license for our software for other companies that can use with their own robots.
Okay, so I want to touch on that. You touched a little bit about talent and about how, when the software solution is far more advanced than the actual robotic solution, then you can really leverage a lot of the talent pool in the software space. So I think that's interesting in chiming into Israel in general, because in Israel, this is kind of like our forte, and we do have, well, I don't know, I think probably every startup entrepreneur that I interview, they probably say that the thing that they need the most is more engineers. We're always in shortage of engineers, but as you said, there is a level of proficiency in Israel. Do you feel, though, that, because, again, it's not trivial for a company to be in Israel working on automation of production of facilities, of logistics, of warehouses. It's really relatively rare, and in terms of the talent, like exactly as you said, is it easy for you to compete on talent? If you're even competing on software engineers, is this something that is attractive to them? You guys have a facility further up north because you really need kind of like a huge hunger to be able to facilitate, the work on the robots. Is it easy for you to get high quality engineers? Where do you originate some of that talent pool?
Yeah, it's not easy. We are competing with companies like Amazon and Google, but one of the reasons, again, we are located in north, so we have a lot of engineers that coming from the Technion, and so for them, and actually, right now, like 75% of our engineers coming from North, the rest coming from. So if engineers looking for a real challenge and something really unique, I think that currently in the market you cannot find a lot of startup company that can have challenges to find that, challenges like we can offer them, working on hardware and software together. And also, again, very close to the Technion. They have a good faculty in the robotics, so we are working with them pretty close. But again, it's very difficult. And one of the reasons we are working right now is, again, to give most of the power is on the software side. So right now we have like, in the robotic side, 5 engineers. In the software side, around 15 engineers. So we are trying to that, but still difficult, I think, for every startup company to find engineers that have expert in AIs and robotics is very, very difficult.
So it's a very unique skill set. But Israel, like as you said, I think the Technion is a great place to try to pull any bit of talent that comes through that faculty. You mentioned Amazon, so we're not only competing with Amazon in terms of talent, but also in terms of the actual product, because a lot of people are talking about the fact that Amazon have bought Kiva, their solution, about 5 years ago.
Yes, they acquired them 5 years ago for almost $800 million.
For $800 million, and they've continued to develop on top of that solution. I remember when I saw the first video of that solution like 5 years ago, I said, "Wow, it's like so basic. Really seems to be like." There's like so much more that really could be done. So they're naturally working on that solution ever since, and they've created a lot of noise in the industry. So I think it's probably something that you hear a lot, like that comparison between their solution and your solution. So what do you think about that? How do you view that Amazon as like the master of logistics competitor?
Amazon is not really competitors. They are really restricted from the market, so they give a service only for Amazon. But we can find in the market around, let's say, around 10 copycats of Amazon. Most of them come from India and China. Some of them also from Europe. By the way, it's a copy-paste solution, like copy-paste. Today, the technology of that started to be developed around 2003, 2004. Most of that is currently open source, very easy. If I want to build a company right now from scratch, take copycat of Amazon solution, less than 1 year, and I have a product. The huge advantage of that is it's a working solution. It's a proven solution. But there is some huge disadvantage with this kind of solution. Maybe you can run the video, and I can show in parallel what the main difference between those systems.
Can you run the video? I was going to explain it, but
yeah. So basically, so maybe probably most of them saw this video. So. We have these orange robots. Looks like like a small robots, but basically the footprint of this small robot is bigger than our big robot. So the inventory they are putting in the inventory on these blue pods, up to 1.8, 2 meter high, not more than that. They are driving beneath the shelving. They are driving around 0.5 meter per second, while our robot run around 2 meter per second, 4 times faster. And instead of the picker will walk, currently in Amazon, a picker is walking around 18 kilometers per shift. So instead of that, they eliminate the need of walking in the warehouse. It's coming to a place called picking station. A robot is coming, they pick an item, put it in customer order, another robot is coming, they're working like that. So again, working solution. Disadvantage with that, we can take a solution like that and squeeze the space by 50%. We're going 2 times higher. So we not just save to the customer a space, but if a robot needs to drive 50% less, so his throughput will be 50% better. And again, we are driving 4 times faster.
And also, I feel like you need one item from that top shelf. You're delivering the entire shelving system to the picker.
Again, 300 kilograms in order to pick in average 1.1 items. And the customer buy this unique infrastructure. This unique infrastructure costs around 5-6 times more than regular shelving that you can find, any shelf that you can find in the market. So again, very good solution, but pretty limited in terms of space, of efficiency, and of course pricing.
So I think this brings me to my next question, because there is a difference really in understanding kind of like the customer differentiating between brownfields and greenfields. So in this instance, or this solution, it requires like a complete change in the infrastructure, which I think is important to understand, because when you build a warehouse, you take into consideration that investment for a period of time with depreciation and everything else, and by the time that you actually have returned your investment on that initial investment in infrastructure, would be the right point in time to decide if you want to completely alter the shelving system. So, do you cater to brownfields as well as greenfields, like new warehouses and also existing warehouses? And if that's the case, then that's also
yes. We have actually 2 examples. One of our customer right now in the States is we have existing infrastructure. Another one in Finland is a pretty new new warehouse. And I think our customer needs, what they need is really flexibility and scalability. And if you come with unique infrastructure that require to them pay more, and you don't give them a flexibility like most of the automation system that is currently in the market, if we're talking about e-commerce customer that grow 15%, 20% a year, until they install system like that, or until they plan something very heavy and very fixed, it will not enable them to scale up. They multiple their sales every 3 to 4 years. They need to move between warehouses. They start to sell shoes, then they move to sell iPhones and jewelries and pharmacy or whatever. They change their boxes. They need to add aisles like almost on a weekly basis. So they must have a system where they know they can scale pretty fast. And in terms of ROI, they don't need to invest a lot of money in unique infrastructure. And they need a system that will give them a lot of redundancy. Currently, when we are talking about when you have periods like spikes, like Cyber Monday, Black Friday, when you open your warehouse and you have 1,000% unpredictable orders. So if you have a system that also enable you redundancy, like our system, so in our system, even if it's shut down, or you right now, until we send you more robots, you can take pickers and work in manual mode. You can decide, okay, I want to close these 3 aisles, and picker can enter inside and pick manually in manual mode. It will be very intuitive for them. It will be very intuitive because it's regular shelving, regular aisles, regular boxes, everything is while in solution like that and other fixed solution that go up to 40 meters, you can not get this kind of redundancy, this kind of scalability.
Combination between automated system, manual systems, so really catering to different types of customers. So let's spend a little bit more time in understanding who is the customer. Because you talked about the strong relationship or correlation with warehouses that attend to the e-commerce market, that anticipate spikes, etc. Let's spend a few minutes kind of like talking about who is the customer, who is the ideal customer for you. Is it just anyone who has a warehouse? I remember that many of our investors kind of like, I have a warehouse, maybe I could be also a partner. So let's talk a little bit about the focus in terms of identifying the type of customers and the added value there.
So customers, we are looking for operation, again, that require flexibility and scalability. Regular warehouse that serves like a B2B solution, for example, Teva, for example, when they grow, Teva is not growing, but companies that grow 1%, 2% a year, that have a very limited number of SKU, fixed boxes, it's not something that really interested us. It's not something that I think we have a huge advantage. We are looking for operation that grow dramatically, where we can start with a small warehouse with, let's say, 10 robots, 15 robots, and operation that grow organically 10%, 15% a year. After we invest one time in integration, project management, and installation, later on we enjoy from the organic growth of the company. So if they want an extra manpower, we just send them robot. They get the robot, they click on the button, wait for 30 seconds, the robot sync with the server and join his friends. And by the way, it's work vice versa. So if you take out robot, the system knows automatically how to reshuffle the task. So if you're talking about something like that, the classical application, of course, is e-commerce operations. And the other thing is 3PLs. 3PL, what we call a third-party logistics company like FedEx and UPS that give outsourced service for B2B and also e-commerce. But for them, it's a huge advantage system like that, because most of the companies that coming to 3PL, most of them sign contract for 2 or 3 years. So if I am a 3PL and need to invest now in automation, unique automation for this specific customer, and he will leave me after 2 to 3 years, I need now to find another customer that will fit exactly for this unique system. While in our solution, even if you have a customer and he leave you after 2 to 3 years, later on, in order if you have another customer, different boxes, different shelving, you don't care. And by the way, this is what, like 1 month ago, exactly what happened. One of our customer of our customer left the warehouse. We just gave command to our robot to take out 1,000 boxes. Day later, they brought another customer. We entered them inside. So 3PL and e-commerce customers, e-commerce retailer, direct, a lot of them have their own warehouses. This is what we are looking to target. Customers that grow 10%, 15% a year, that can start with a small system, or a huge customer like 3PL that start with a small pilot and then grow. Yes, this is our main focus. And of course, there are later on a lot of other application and potential for that, but this is what we are focusing right now.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about the model. What are they paying for all this goodness?
So there is one traditional model that is currently in the market, like we are talking about roughly customer pay, invest in capital on the hardware side, buy robots, buy picking station, one-time license for the software, pay one time for system integration, for installation, and later on he pay roughly 10% annual fee for support, service, and maintenance, and an additional around 10% for software license, again, annual fee. But this is what is currently happened. What we see right now, there is a unique trend. Everybody knows SaaS, software as a service. Now there is a trend that started called what we call RAS, robotic as a service. If I do it really rough, pay as you use, pay as you go. We put a system, and every time, for example, the robot bring a bin to the picking station, he pay 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents. What we see is that it's just this kind of model is just at the beginning. We think that in 3-4 years from now, it will be more relevant. It will be more relevant because the state of mind of customer, it's very traditional. Customers.
I was going to say that
yes.
It probably catches them completely off guard with like these new models.
So and the other thing, what we see, I talked about it before, that for company like us to finance a project like that, it costs a lot of money, but in the hardware side. But again, what we see right now, each year, the percentage of sensors and motors and driver reduced dramatically. So I think that the point of 3-4 years from now will start to be relevant. And again, we think only the small, medium businesses will go for this model of RAS model. And the big customer, exactly like currently in the cloud, the small and the medium are in AWS and Azure, and the big one have their own cloud, and sometimes they use as external resource with AWS. So we assume that the big one will buy the system, and in periods of spikes and things like that, will use RAS model. So when they can say, okay, I want in 1 month, I want additional 100 robot for 1 month or 2 months, and later on we will take it. But
that's kind of something that they will be willing to pay just to achieve that kind of flexibility.
Yeah.
But I want to put a price tag on it. So let's assume I'm like a medium-size facility. I want, I don't know, maybe like 3-4 of the bigger robots, 7-8 of the smaller robots. What would that cost me with Kacha compared to like other solutions that are out there?
I think I will give example of our first customer, Bergen Logistics in New York. It just sit on the Hudson, where they give 3PL. They have around 250,000 square meter of warehouses, more than 1,000 employees. They give a service for e-commerce retailers in the fashion industry. So they give a same-day delivery inside Manhattan on a daily basis, and half of the warehouse is based in New York, and the second half is in LA. So we started with a first project around 1% of the warehouse, 2,500 square meter, 25,000 boxes, 20 robots, 5 from the big one, 15 from the small one. Project like that costs a little bit less than $1 million.
To the customer.
To the customer. And again, the 10% annual fee for support and service, and roughly 10% annual fee for a software license.
So they do like a $1 million one-time investment, and then on a yearly basis, they pay approximately $200,000 every year.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So
and that facility, is that the size of the facility, or is that like the initial investment and then you're expecting them to grow?
Yes. So we expect to get probably around, let's say, $2 million additional PO around September. We will be fully installed. Again, later on, if you're talking about a size like that, the expansion of project like that, of course, it not be additional $1 million, because 30% of that is, for the first installation, for the integration of the system. So later on, of course, relatively the price will be reduced.
Okay, so share with us maybe a little bit about the traction where you guys are at in terms of the customers and and the cycles to actually close a customer. Anything interesting in the pipeline that you are happy to share?
Yeah. So again, we have this Bergen Logistics. By the way, Bergen Logistics, we signed a contract with them. They are committed to buy from us for a few dozens of millions of dollars for the next 4 years. And it will start again around September to get additional POs, and they have a few warehouses. Looks pretty promising. Every day we are taking out there a few hundreds of orders. We have an SLA that we need to take. For example, each order that enter until 2 p.m. must go out on the same day. We have a team, by the way, just open we open Kacha Inc. in the States. We have there 2 guys for supports. Right now we are working on recruiting someone to be our sales guy there. This is in Bergen Logistics, so in that I think we'll be able to catch. They grow on, by the way, 20% a year. So I'm not sure we'll be able even to catch in terms of replacing, let's say, labor there in the next few years. Another customer is DSV. DSV is one of the top leading customer 3PL in the world. By the way, they are bigger than FedEx and UPS. We will have a first project with them in August in Holland, small project. It will be a pilot project with around 4 robots. Another project at the end of this year in Finland, pretty new warehouse they just built. They chosen us. Actually, they checked all the copycat of Kiva-like solution. They check all the startup in the world. We signed a contract with them that will be there after we install successfully first project and we achieve all the KPI. We will be defined there as preferred suppliers. Means that they have only one IT system, WMS, warehouse management system. We do integration for that, and later on, if we will achieve all our KPI, we're going to expand for all the rest of the warehouses. So we are talking about here hundreds of millions of dollars. We just need to pick and install our robots. We have another project we have 2 distributors. One of them is a company called ViaStore. ViaStore is one of the top leading intralogistic provider. Intralogistic is the one that supply to warehouse.
They're European-based as well, right?
Yes, based in Germany. So we'll have a first project with them on December this year. Another company, ST Engineering, Singapore Technology, will be our distributor in Southeast Asia. We already signed with them MOU. Right now we are working on the final agreement, so I assume in the next 2 months we will sign a final agreement with them.
So very kind of like pivotal year in terms of the traction. So you guys are really in the process of closing an A round now, rolling out to really mass production, producing a lot more robots and rolling out the solutions to multiple customers and distribution partners. What is your kind of like, what milestone would you want to achieve like in 12 months? Like where do you see the company growing? And then let's discuss maybe kind of the viewpoint for the future, like in 3-4 years, where, as you said, the maturity of the ecosystem, the need for this kind of solution. Otherwise, your customers won't be able to compete in their relative markets. I think that's going to be a very interesting time to explore, further solidifying the position of Kaha in this industry, but maybe additional sectors. So let's talk about kind of the milestones for the upcoming year.
Actually, what we want to achieve in the next 2 years is right now is to build, because the technology already there, it's working. Of course, we need to improve that and we need to optimize that. But right now, with a company like us, we need to right now to build the right infrastructure that will enable us in 1.5 to 2 years from now to really scale up. And when we say infrastructure, it starts from sales, to find the right channels, can be direct sales, and could be to working with the right channels as distributors in Europe and also in the States and Southeast Asia. China, probably 3-4 years from now, will enter to the Chinese market. We need to find the right partner for that. And so it starts from the sales to build our manufacturing lines with partners. We will not build our own manufacturing line. Right now we are negotiating with Flex in order that will build us a turnkey solution where we'll give them, when we say have a contract for lead time and pricing, and I want you to send now to Bergen 20 robots in 1 month, and they will do that. And the last thing is, again, to build the right infrastructure for support and service. Some of that we'll do by our own, but the rest to do it with integrator to train them. I think this is our main goal in the next 1.5 years. And only if we will put that, now that we have the technology, it will enable us really to scale up. So this is in terms of that. In terms of in other application, there are some actually more potential application that we can take our technology. One of them is it's very funny story. Google approached us not because Google have warehouses, because they have farm servers. They have more than 2 million servers, and they decided they want to automate their warehouse. So they approached all the robotic company, and all of them told them, okay, you need to build your farm servers from scratch in order to support automation. They heard about us from Viastore US. They contact us and they said, okay, you say you can run in existing infrastructure. We will pay you money to change the gripper. Instead of push and pull bin, it will push and pull servers. So we start to work with them. And actually, at the end, we decide to stop with this project because it really took us out of focus. But in terms of potential, we're talking here about not only Google and Amazon and Azure and everyone. It's really, I think there is huge potential. And another industry that's approaching us almost on a weekly basis is the greenhouses or the cannabis industry in the States. If we talked before about growing 15%, 20% a year, they are growing more than that. In terms of labor cost, it's even worse in this industry. Again, robots that can run in any existing infrastructure and give a service, a huge potential. Again, we are not focusing on that right now, but We assume that in the next few years we'll probably do some kind of a spin-off company that will focusing on farm server and also the cannabis industry or if any greenhouse that require flexibility. So this is for the next 2 years, and after that, after we will put all these building blocks, we want to achieve in 5 years from now to reach the $100 million sales per year. What we see in the market, companies like there's one company like AutoStore that achieved that, and it's a good example. That company that at the end focusing on working only with integrators and distributors, taking care of the manufacturing line, and that's it. So because small company from Israel, in order to really scale up, we cannot do it by direct sales. Of course, right now we are doing that. We want to fill the customer, but later on, in really to scale up, we need to find the right channel for that. And I think in 4 years from now, the Chinese market will be really booming in terms. It will get to a point where ROI in the Chinese market will be really interesting.
Okay, final question. I want to open to Q&A so folks have an opportunity to ask questions. What's your biggest challenge? Like, what keeps you up at night?
Today, actually, I'm not sleeping at night. Example, yesterday we had a huge upgrade in Bergen, and it's not like when you have when you have a software, if you have application, something is not working, and you can even put a beta on your logo, near your logo, a beta. You cannot do something like that, because right now it's a real world. If something is not working,
there are a lot of moving parts, quote unquote.
Yes, it's moving parts. To support something remotely in terms of software, it's easy today. In hardware, if something, you have a broken robot or you have a broken part, and you didn't analyze the right spare part in your warehouse, and of course Murphy rules, you always forget the right part for that. Our main challenge right now, it's in terms of support, service, and maintenance, in order to get a good feedback from customer, because it's
going to bring more customers.
Bring more customer. Our main challenge right now in terms of customer is not about it's not about the concept of the system. It's not even about ROI of the system. It's about how you start small company from Israel can support us in Finland and in Holland and the States. I think this is our main challenge, because all the leads we don't even until now we don't even have one sales guy in our team. All the sales and all the leads that we have right now, everybody came to us because everybody, at least on the paper, they like the concept of the system using existing infrastructure, cloud-based robots, our software. But now we need to approve it. We can take this model and scale it up, not in terms of technology, but in terms of structure and infrastructure that surrounding it.
Great questions. Not everybody at once. Okay. Yes.
Are you thinking going downstream and optimizing, let's say, the downstream delivery of the boxes with e-commerce merchandise?
Repeat the question.
Solutions like last mile for? No. I think we need to cooperate, to do some cooperation with companies, some of them, by the way, in Israel, very good companies. I think, by the way, this market will be probably start to be relevant in terms of really production in 4 or 5 years from now. And I think we must do some kind of integration companies like that. So at the end, where we stop, they will start and do the integration between the systems. But currently it's not something we are thinking of. I can tell you that one of the things that really can, next phase in terms of technology, again, a few years from now, is enter drones into the warehouses. So right now, if everybody competing on the same path on the floor, it will be, you can optimize that, but still technology is not there. But again, we're not going to enter this area of last mile solutions.
Next question. Yes.
I was very interested to learn that you're going from a subscription model to a pay-per-use model. And I have sort of exactly the same challenge, but then you said that the customers are sort of reluctant to approach that. So A, why did you choose then to go to the pay-per-use model? And B, how do you now sort of, educate them on the advantages of that?
First of all, regarding education, I don't think we can educate them. It's only a matter of time. By the way, if you know the history of the cloud, it's happened like that. It was very strange at the beginning, but right now everybody working on that. So it's something that will happen naturally. It will happen. Right now, based on our business model, only 20% is pay-per-use, and it will go for the small companies that cannot invest now. Small startup companies that have e-commerce operation that cannot invest in terms of technology and don't want to take the risk. So we will take the risk. Again, depends what type of a risk. It will be easier for now to, in terms of financing project like that, right now for us it's very difficult, but we already start to talk with SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, in order to finance project like that. So of course, they need more confidence. So only I think in 1 year, 2 years from now, it will be easier for us to offer such models. But currently, we don't want to stop and run, so we are focusing on the traditional model. But it will come, I'm sure.
Yes.
Hi. You said that the computing is done on the cloud,
yes.
Right? But isn't there a problem of lag? Wouldn't you need the computing to be done on the edge so the robots themselves need to be smarter? Isn't that a problem with, because the reaction needs to be very quick?
Yes, so just to let you know that all warehouses currently based on the internet, even that the pickers that work, they are working with, with iPad that connect to the internet. So even if the internet is falling down, it's not something that means that even you cannot work in manual mode. And of course, we have redundancy and we have few lines. As we see, there is a huge advantage to work on the cloud. When you have one big brother, then see the whole picture. From one side, you can see all the orders that enters. You can do prediction. You can see to what is coming on, while if you are talking about one robot that can see only itself, it cannot see where and predict where will be traffic jams and where will be the best path. So in that, I think it's to give a power to robots in application like us, it's an old school approach. If you want to achieve and use AI in terms of computing power, working on the robot itself, so it means you need a lot of computing power. It means your robot will cost more. In terms of upgrades of the system, it's very difficult when you have autonomous robot. So if you calculate all these issues together, at the end, you will get the best result in working based on the cloud. Of course, there is a lot of challenges of that. And again, at the end, it's proved itself. I can tell you that for us, in order to upgrade the system, at least even for small companies, it's cycles of every 1 week, every 2 weeks. It's very easy when you work on a cloud system. And I think even the customer likes something like that. So we see it as a huge advantage.
I think also if you have like a big brain on the actual robot, it's more expensive. Maintenance is harder, and it's a challenge in any event, like parts or just like calling back a car.
The computer are very, very expensive. You need to put an AI on computer. So very, very expensive.
So I think it would increase significantly the BOM, like
exactly. So at the end, the ROI of the customer will be we can reduce that. Our target in terms of ROI, by the way, I didn't mention that, is to be around between 2 to 2.5 years on a system. Currently, traditional models, traditional technology, talking about between 6 to 7 years. So this is our goal. For one shift, if you're working more than one shift, you can even reduce it less than that.
More questions? Great. So we'll break off to additional networking. You guys can stick around. I think we ran out of time for today. Really want to thank you.
You're welcome.
If you need to say maybe like one last thing to our listeners today about, why you guys will win, what makes this a great opportunity, what would you say?
I say that, say like that. I think that the company, two things, the company that will offer the best flexibility, the best scalability, that can give to the customer, we didn't talk about our simulation, and the best prediction for customer will take it all. I think that the company that will focus on the software side will take it, will not take it all, but still will win.
Next level.
Yes. And I think that the approach of not doing everything by ourselves, like manufacturing, support and service, will enable us really to scale up dramatically, and focusing on the software side. And I think this is, again, the company that will focusing on the software side will win.
Thank you very much, Guy. If you guys have more questions, stick around to talk to Guy, and you can also approach any member of the iAngels team to learn more about Kaha. Thank you. Have a great week.